Okay, so what we will do today, we will start the object oriented part of Python, means object oriented programming using Python. Okay, I know that some of you or maybe all of you know what is object oriented programming. You may know Java or you may know C++. Those are all object oriented programming languages. Most of the programming languages nowadays are in the object oriented programming paradigm. Okay, so in our class we will not discuss many things about object oriented programming technology, but rather how to implement the concepts of object oriented programming languages, how to implement the concept of object oriented programming language using Python. Okay, so our aim in this class will be focusing on implementing object oriented programming concepts using Python. Okay, so detailed discussion for object oriented programming methodology or program concepts is we will not get in this class. Okay, so basic object oriented concept obviously we will discuss, but the main concept will be how to implement the object oriented concept using Python. Okay, okay, fine. Let me display the content of today's folder. It is today is class 9. So in this object oriented programming part of Python, we will discuss these things: classes, object, creating class, what are instance and instance objects. Okay, there are many things in object oriented technology. So we will discuss these selected topics in object oriented programming in Python class. So let's begin. Okay, sorry. So what is basically object oriented programming? So in this slide, I am basically trying to give you the concept of object oriented programming technique that I have already told you. We are not going in detail of object oriented programming that you will find in my Java classes or in C++ classes. But in this class, our focus will be for the implementation part of object oriented programming in Python. So what is basically object oriented programming? So in object oriented programming is basically a paradigm. Okay, there are several techniques of writing a program. Means you can say a problem solving techniques. Okay, there are procedural approach, there are unstructured approach. Okay, like that. Object oriented programming is also a programming pattern or paradigm or technique. Okay, how we look into a problem and proceed in finding the solution of that for that problem. Okay, so object oriented programming is basically a special type of programming where we consider object is the basic elementary part in the entire system. Okay, whatever we will do, we will consider that we are dealing with an object or not an. Okay, we are dealing with objects. Okay, so whenever we need something, we will find some objects to deliver that particular thing to me. Okay, so that kind of programming approach is not new. Okay, in our regular life, we follow this kind of approach. Okay, suppose you want some kind of mm, means you want to perform some kind of task. Okay, for example, you want to call your friend right now. Then how will you do that? If the problem is you want to talk to your friend, then either friend or you should be sitting in front of each other. Otherwise, if you are apart from each other, then you must need some medium, so that communication can be happen between you. Okay, so think about 20 or 30 days before, 30 years before. If the same situation was there, then probably we will think about uh, what, telephone. Okay, that old pattern landline phone. Okay, you will call that time. You should call your friend number, and a friend will reply, and you start the communication. Nowadays, okay, when you have the mobile in your pocket or on your desk, you will search for that mobile. Okay, and find his or her number and call him. Think about 50 years or maybe 100 years before. If the same situation arise, okay, at that time, then was it ever was it possible for that time to think about the mobile or even the telephone? No, it was not possible. That time, the only thing was there to meet your friend. So you should uh, take some process. You should think about some process to go to your friend. Okay, so every time you are looking into a problem, you are thinking about an object. Like in my example, for current time, you are looking for a mobile. So what is a mobile? Mobile is an object. So 30 years before, when the mobile was not invented, that time you were looking for a telephone. Okay, 100 years before, when there was no mobile, when there was no telephony, okay, that time you should think about take some car or some maybe some other objects, maybe some other way of reaching to your friend. Okay, so this is a regular concept we use in our daily life routine every time for everything. Okay, so this concept was introduced uh, in our programming technique by means of object oriented programming. Okay, actually the concept is, you can say, object oriented concept. The term, you can say, object oriented concept or object oriented methodology, or you can say object oriented technology. Okay, technique. That thing, we when implemented in case of programming, we get a special kind of programming language, that is object oriented programming language. Okay, so what does actually OOP means? Object oriented programming. That means it is a different style, a special style of programming, writing program. Okay, dealing with objects. Okay, so there are several advantages why we should use object-oriented programming. What are the other types of programming pattern? I already said unstructured programming, or you can say mm, uh, when structured programming came. One type of programming language, I can say, that is function oriented programming language or procedure oriented programming language, whatever term you can use. That means there the basic entity was a function, like C. If you know C programming language, then in that programming language, what we can basically do, write some functions. Okay, call the functions and write another function, call that function to serve the purpose. Okay, in object oriented programming, we will build some objects. We will use that objects to deliver to deliver the task, okay, for us. And we build some another object to get some other tasks out of it, like that. Okay, so the smallest building block in object oriented programming, you can say it's an object. Okay, Okay, that was about what is object oriented programming or OOP. Okay. Next, how to build an object. Now think in your in our daily life, if you think about an object, just like say for example mobile. Okay, so how to build a mobile, how to produce a mobile or manufacture a mobile. So the same thing here in object oriented programming, you have to build an object, so you have to think about that object, how to design, how to build that object. And in object oriented programming technique, we have something called class. Okay, class is basically a building plan. Means, say when you are going to build a mobile, when you are going to, suppose you are a mobile manufacturer. Okay, so you are planning to launch a new mobile in market. Okay, then how will you proceed? You must make a solid plan before going to manufacture that particular mobile now. So that plan you can call it as a class. Okay, let me open the paint. Okay, see, suppose you want to launch a mobile. Just a minute. Okay, so what we are saying, that we are going to build, we are a mobile manufacturer and we are going to launch our new mobile in market. Okay, then what will be our first thing? We must build a perfect plan, how the mobile will look like. Okay, how the mobile will look like. Okay, what are the features that you are going to give inside the mobile. Okay, what are the materials that you will use to build the mobile. So these are all the plans about that particular mobile. Okay, and that must be created before uh, you actually manufacture that mobile. Okay, when that plan satisfy everyone, means the management, then this plan is sent to the manufacturing department. Okay, then that manufacturing department then produce, then follow this plan and create mobiles. Okay, and every mobile will look similar, means will look same, because these mobiles, these devices have been created from the same plan. Okay, so these are called objects. Okay, and this is called class. So what is a class? Class is basically a plan from where an object is created, right? Now after creation of these objects, users will use this object for their purpose. So these are user. So whoever using these objects, he or she is actually using that objects. Okay, so in the same way, in our programming, okay, towards a problem, towards uh, solving a problem, we will find some objects first. Means we need to think about some object. We will create a plan, perfect plan for that object, and those are called class. Okay, so from that class we will build some objects. Okay, like this, and those objects will be used by some user program or application. These are all this you will call user application or your application. Okay, this is your object. Okay, to enhance this idea, I am taking a more concise example. Just like, suppose your task is to sum two numbers. Say there are two numbers, say a and b, and we want to produce the summation of these two numbers and store the value in C. Okay, so this is the problem. Then how can you think to solve this problem in object oriented programming approach, in function oriented programming approach? Okay, like in C. Okay, you can think in that way. Okay, I will start a program, take input of A and B and sum it and print the result or store the result in C. It was so simple. Obviously, it is so simple. But if you implement the same problem in object oriented programming, then what you have to do? You have to think about some objects to deliver the task for you. Okay. So I am thinking, see, I am thinking that, okay, I need a device, I need an object which will deliver this purpose, this operation. Okay. So I am just planning how the object will look like. Say, the object may look like this, object may look like this. Okay. So inside that object, I may have, means in terms of programming, I am thinking, okay, I may have two variables. Okay. These two variables will reflect my A and B, and we will have another variable. Okay. And this variable will store the result of the summation. This much I can think. Okay. Now, these are the variables, okay, to in order to perform the task. Okay. Now, we need some other things to make the complete job. Those things are the functionalities. Okay. How to do that job? Okay. We may have some, see, I am giving a division here. So here I am going to put some functionalities. Okay. Maybe I can put a functionality which will take input in these two variables A and B. Okay. Maybe I can think another functionality which will actually produce the sum. Okay. Sum. And one more activity or one more functionality to produce the output. This much I can think in order to perform this operation. Okay. So this completes the idea of an object. Okay. What kind of object it is? We can simply say this object is look like a adder. Simple add two numbers. Okay. So I can give a name to this object adder. Okay. Got it. So see here, simply this object has two part, two segments. This part is called data part of the object. Okay. Or you can say attribute. Okay. And this part is basically the functionality, functionalities, or just a minute, or you can say method part. Okay. This actually tells you the behavior of the object, behavior of the object, how the object will behave, means the verbal part. Okay. Not the verbal part, it's actually the verb part, means the actions. Okay. How the object will behave, what are the work that are associated with that object. Okay. Those will be defined by this method. Okay. Okay. Think another way, isn't that look like a device, a tool? It is just like a tool. Okay. I made this picture in that way that you can get an idea that actually object is a tool. Okay, so here these are the buttons of this adder. If you press this button, so it will take input in these two number, in these two variables. If you press this button, so you will get the value of the summation stored in some internal variable. C is internal variable. You are not going to take input in this C variable. Okay, so by pressing this button, you know that the result of the summation is stored in somewhere inside the object. Now, when you press this button, you are going to get the output from this variable. So, this is the plan. Basically, this is the plan of the object that we are thinking. So, you can say that this is a class. Okay. You can tell me. So, just now you told us that this is a class. Sorry, this is an object. Yeah, sure. When we will create the object from this class, it will look like this logically. Okay. So, sorry. So, class, this is the class name. We can take this adder as a class name. So, class will look like this. Okay. So, this is a plan. Now, what we have to do? We have to create objects from it. Okay, object from the class. Now in Python we will learn how to write a class, how to create an object from it. And when I am saying that I will press this button, how to do that in Python, we will learn all these things syntactically in the writing a program. Okay, but currently this is the approach we should follow in object oriented programming. Okay, and one more thing about object oriented programming, that object oriented programming is basically focusing in the organization part of code. Okay, see, code means the program is the most essential part, or you can say the most important thing to the developers or the organization. Okay, so we need to maintain the code for a long period of time. So if your code is not structured well, okay, is not organized well, code means what? Number of lines. Okay, thousands and thousands number of lines are there. So if those lines are not organized properly, then it will be very much hard task, or maybe sometimes it will not be possible for some other person or even the developer by himself or herself to maintain the code in later phase. Okay, so mm it is very much necessary to write the codes in a good arrangement. So object oriented programming will also give you that kind of arrangement of code. Okay, okay, so read these points later, and you will get some more idea about object oriented programming. Okay, we are going to the next slide. Okay, so how to create a class in Python, how to create a class. I will demonstrate everything. Just uh, look into this thing first. See here in Python. So if some of you have experience from Java or C++, then if anything goes in a contradictory way, that in Java means, if you have any confusion that in Java we were doing like this, but in Python we are doing in this way, then what is the difference? Why we are doing this? If you have anything, any concept like that, or anything come into your mind during my lecture, then you can stop me and interrupt me and tell me. Okay, I will explain that thing to you. Okay, so this is the syntax in Python. Okay, how to define a class. So class will be the keyword, and class name is just like any other name of a variable or anything else. Okay, so you have to give class name, then that colon, you do not forget to give the colon. Okay, and then these are the statement. So statements are always not mandatory to create a class. Okay, you can create a class without any statement, just like this. Okay, obviously pass is also a statement. Pass means you are inserting nothing inside it. Okay, so in Python you can take class as a namespace. Namespace. Okay, now you have the idea what is namespace. We have discussed about namespace in our earlier classes. So namespace, you can take in Python class as a namespace rather than anything else. Now what is a namespace? For the newcomers, I am just repeating in quick words. Namespace is a specific area. Okay, so suppose in your area this is your house. Okay, and this is your neighbor's house. Okay, obviously the arrangement is not like that. Okay, if it is your house and if it is your neighbor's house, then who will consume this part? Okay, okay, if you have a proper understanding with your neighbor, then it's okay. But if you have some conflict, then this part will give you some immense problem. So to separate these things, okay, we have some separate areas, boundaries. Okay, so this is one namespace, this is another namespace. Just like our house have separate addresses every time. Okay, my address is different from my neighbor's address. Okay, so in a unique addressable area, a house. Okay, just like namespace is the same thing in programming. Okay, you can create a namespace by giving a name. Say n1 is the name, so whatever you write inside that, those all belongs to this namespace. Now if you have some other namespace, whatever you write just beneath it, these all things will belongs to this namespace. Okay, so how to conflict? Suppose you have a variable with name x here, and you have another variable name is same x here. So if you have properly defined the namespaces, then there will be no confliction. But if you do not use the namespace, then there might be a confusion or confliction. So just like that, just like this. Okay, namespace is used in programming to separate, means to resolve the confliction, so that the confliction will not arise at all. Okay, so that was namespace. So in Python, class name is just like a namespace. So if you write a class like that, and whatever statement you give here or whatever variables you declare here, methods you declare here, okay, those all belongs to this name, this name. Okay, now if you have another class in your program, then whatever comes under that class name will belongs to that class name. These two different classes may have same named variables, may have same name methods, and there will be no confliction because they are in separate namespaces. Okay, so Python class, you can treat it as a namespace. When a class definition is entered, a new namespace is created and use the local scope. Okay, now you know what is local scope. Anything goes inside a means inside a method, inside a function, inside a if, inside a loop. Okay, those are all called scope, local scope. Okay, okay, see here, this is a formal definition of class. Okay, so inside this class you have a variable, you have a method. So these two things you can say as the property of the class. Property of which class? This my class. My class is the name. So these properties belongs to this my class. And you may have some other classes in the same program with some other name, obviously. And inside that class you may have the variables, the same variables. Okay, and same methods, there will be no confliction since the class names are different. Anyway, I hope you understand. So you can write a class like that, a simple class. This class do not have any functions or methods in it, just have a variable. Okay, just have a variable. Now you can also define a class like that. This class do not contain anything at all. Pass, you know what is pass. Okay. So in this special type of creation of class, what actually we are trying to do, we are trying to create a namespace. Just we want to create a namespace. Okay, here we do not want to put any specific type of data or methods in it. We just want to create a namespace. Okay, a blank space is allocated, or not space, a namespace. Namespace is not space. Okay, namespace is a, you can say, a boundary telling something. Okay, so it is not allocated with any memory. Okay, memory will be allocated under the namespace. Okay, so whatever memory will be allocated, that will be designated as that name. Okay. Okay, so this was the way of declaring a class in Python. Now, init, there is a method called init method. I will discuss init method later. Mm, let's go to the next slide. Creating object, and okay. So see this. How to create the object? See, this is your my class. This is your class. Okay. Now, how to create an object from this class? In order to use this methods or variables, in order to use this class, actually we need to create an object. Okay, so how to create an object from a class in Python? This is the way how to create an object. Okay, so use the class name just like a method. Okay, just like a method name. Okay, so this is the way how you create an object. So what is object here? X is your object. This X is your object. Okay, so X is the object. An object or instance are same. You can say object or instance. Okay, both are same, referring to the same thing. Okay, so creating objects in this way can be named as instantiation. Okay, if you have been asked what is instantiation, you will reply that to create an object means creating object is called instantiation. Okay, so how many objects you can create from a class? Any number of objects you can create from a class. It is the same way answering how many mobiles the company can manufacture from the plan. The company can manufacture in number of mobiles, infinite number of mobiles from the same plan. There is no harm. In the same way, you can create any number of objects from a same class. Okay. Okay, use modify objects property. Okay, these things I will discuss when I will demonstrate. Okay, let's go to the demonstration part first. Okay, if this thing. Sorry. So where we will do the work, ideally or in VS Code? We go for ideally. So this is our ideally. We will run the code here, and we are going to create files. Okay, although it is not mandatory to create files, but still I would like to create the files so that I can share with you later. Okay, so create a new file. Okay, so I am arranging my screen. Okay, do anybody have any doubt till now? Okay, so let me save the file first. desktop. Say we are going to create an object. Mm, just give me 1 minute, please. Okay, so just giving a demo class.py. Okay, let's create a class just like this. Say class demo class. Give a colon and just press enter. So you are inside a class. Okay. Now we are going to put some data here. Say A is the data and we store some value in it. Okay. We can have some other data. Okay. And we can have some methods too. Say def, say fun, say print, hello class. That's all. We do not want to uh, write anything inside this class. This is just a demo class. Later I will show you more specific classes, okay, written for specific purpose. Okay, so if it is a class, now how to use the class? You have to create, we can create object from it. Okay, so let's create an object. Say ob is equal to demo class, just like that. Then if you want to print the value of a, so what you will write? Ob dot a, then print ob dot b. Now if you want to call the function fun, ob dot fun. Okay, now see here, this ob dot, okay, is an way how you can access the properties of a class using an object. Okay, how to access the properties? These are the properties. Okay, inside a class, properties are of two types. One is data, okay, another is methods. So these are the data. So there are different types of data you can put in a class in Python. Okay, we will discuss everything later, but currently you just consider this means the person who are coming from Java or C++ will be familiar if I write the class like this. Otherwise, we have some other kinds of technique writing classes. Anyway, we will discuss everything step by step. So these are the data part of this class, and this is the method part or the function, you can say, inside the class. Okay, inside the class, if you write a function, then those functions are termed as methods. Okay, methods are the functions defined inside a class. Okay, so you can say that fun is the method. So how, so together these data and methods are the properties of this class, this demo class. And here this demo class is the namespace, that means it is a name. Okay, this space is designated with this name. Okay, so how to get access to these properties of this class? you can access those properties by using an object. How to create that object? This is the way how you can create an object in Python, and this is the way how you can access the data property using the object, and this is the way how you can access the function. You can call the function. Now let's save the class and run it fast. Sorry. Okay, so run the function, run module. You have some error. Name demo class is not defined. Do you mean demo class? Sorry. Class demo class. Okay, I have made a small mistake. See here, C is small and here C is capital. So I make it a small c. Name must be same, na? See here. You have this code have been interpreted. Okay, you are getting the result of these print messages. Okay, but you are not uh, getting this function running. Okay, why? Because there is some something called self. You can give anything, any name here, that doesn't mean anything. Self. Okay, now this code will be compiled and run successfully. You will be able to call this. Why I am writing this thing, I will tell you, but simply you should know, if you put a method inside a class, then you must give at least one argument or one parameter. Okay, see, there is no problem if you do not give the name self. Okay, why we required, we will discuss. Okay, okay, now see, look here. You can create a class just like that. Say name sample. Okay, okay, I'm taking the name of the class as same car. Car is a class. Okay, now inside a car I do not want to put anything, so give pass. So here car class is completed. Okay, now can you tell me what is the necessity of creating this class? There is something, you can do it. Okay, see here, can we create an object from it? Yes, c is equal to car. We haven't ended the class, sorry. So this will not car pass, so you have to press another enter. Okay, so car class is completed, so write c is equal to car c. You can create an object from the car class. Now can you use that object to call any methods inside it? Yes, you can use the object, but the car class do not contain any method in it. Okay, so you cannot use that c to call the method because the car class has no method in it. Okay, can you use that object to get some data from car class? Yes, you can use that c object, but the car class do not have any data by itself. Okay, but here you can put that car class, you can put some data inside that car class. data or attribute, you can say c dot name. Okay, c dot name is equal to a fiat. See here. Now this has been assigned. What is c? C is the object of that car class. One object. You can create many objects from that car class. So this will give you an empty car object. Now you are getting an getting a data, or you can say attribute for that car. You are giving the name of that car, Fiat. Okay. So what is the color? You can take another attribute. You can take, say, color is equal to, say, red. Now you can say, so let's fix a price for it. Price equal to, say, 5, something like that. Enter. So we entered three properties for that object C. What is C? C is an object of the car class. Okay. So now let's print. If we want to print it, so print C dot name. What you will get? You will get yet. Let's print C dot price. You will get the price. So what is C basically? If you want to print C, this will give you the address of that object. Okay, if you want to print C in this way, you will get the address of that particular object. Okay, uh, just a minute, just 1 minute. So where we were just okay. So C was the object of one object from created from the car class. Okay, now we put some data in that particular object. See, if you want to print that all the data, so you can do in that way, say c dot underscore underscore double underscore dict. So what it will do, it will print all the properties, all the data part inside that object. See here, using a dictionary. See this c object, this c car object having data or attributes named with name, color, and price, and these are the data, and these are the values for that particular object. Okay, now we are going to create another object. Say D is equal to another object of car class and create it. Now what happen if you do the same thing with D object? See here, you will get an empty dictionary. That means the car object here D has no data in it, simply because we have assigned these data for this object C. So you can get a clear idea from this that these objects are two different things altogether. The C object and D object both are car objects, but these two are different objects. Okay, so inside C objects we have put some data, but inside D objects we did not put any data. So if you want to put some data in your D objects, so what you will do? So D dot name equal to say what you can get. Okay, say Scorpio. Okay, now D dot color say black. D dot price equal to say something like that. Okay. Now here you want to put some another attribute, say d dot uh, say d dot say sitting. So you are getting 7. Now you, if you print this, what you will get? You will get everything. See here, D is a separate object, C is a separate object, both are object from car class. In C object we have put some data, in D object we have put some data. It doesn't necessary to put the common data in two objects. You can always put some different data. Okay. Now since you are assigning, you are declaring these data using this instance, you can say these variables are instance variable. Okay. So these variables are called instance variable since you are assigning this variable using the instance. What is the instance? Instance is an object. Got it? There is another way how you can assign the instance variable, how you can have the instance variable in your Python class. I will show it. Now see here, for every car object, these variables will be common, na? Even the sitting data will also be there for Fiat car. It will be 5-seater. Okay. Here Scorpio is 7-seater. So these defines the properties of the particular car object or a particular car, or you can say the car class. That's why these are also called the attributes. This name, color, price, sitting, these are called the attributes. Now think in that way that we are declaring these attributes after creating the object. After creating the object, we are declaring the attributes. So for every object, whenever you are creating from a class, you have to declare this set of values, set of attributes. This is not well structured. Okay, it should not be take place in that way, because what happen if something is done like this, means you put some extra variables, you can make a mistake in the spelling of the data or attribute. Okay, so it is not a good practice to have the instance variable in this way. Okay, so then what you have to do, you have to declare or you have to have this data inside, somewhere inside this class. Okay, but we have defined the class as blank class. Okay, now we are going to modify this class as a more specific class. Okay, so let me write one more program here where I will write my car class. So right, first save it. So car. So the following thing are going to be important for you, for Java people and C++ people. Be alert. Something different you will get notice here. Okay, so class car. Okay, so inside that class, what I said, inside that class we will declare these variables, we will have these variables, we will tell that car, if you want to get a car, so you will get, these are the attributes, you will get definite set of attributes. Okay, It's not like that indefinite set of attributes. Some car object have three attributes. These are the attributes. Some car objects have four attributes. It's not like that. It should not be like that. Okay. So how will you do that? So you can define some attributes here also. Okay, like that. Why I'm writing, say name is equal to a fear, but that will fix this name, that will fix this name to this variable. That means every car object created from this class will have this attribute, and that attribute will contain this value. Okay. So in Python there is no concept of declaring a variable separately. Like in Java, what you have to do? You have to write a string object like that. Okay. You have to write a string object like that in Java. Okay. And that was all in Java, to have the name as an attribute in the class. But in Python, you do not have to declare the variable. So what you will do? You will leave this statement like that? No, it's not possible. Okay. So if you want to write something here, then you have to give some value. You can give some null value here. Okay, that is possible. But declaring the variable like that is not going to be said as instance variable. So we will not declare the variable or attribute here. Okay, those have some special purpose. I will tell you later. Okay, now how to have that attribute part, how to have the data part. Okay, so here comes the importance of def double underscore init double underscore. This is a special type of function used specially inside the class in Python. Anybody guess what this function is? What will be the means the need of this kind of function? Init, by the name you can guess. Okay, right. It is a constructor. Okay. In some other programming language like Java, C++, we had something called constructor. So what was the purpose of constructor? The purpose of constructor is to perform any task right at the creation of an object from that class. Whenever you are going to create an object from a class, this constructor is the first function or the method for that class which is guaranteed to be called first. So if you want to test, just give a print statement. One car object is created. So if you give this print statement and leave the class, so this is main. Okay, leave the class like that. Okay, now here if you create an object, say you are creating, giving a name of the object, say Fiat is equal to car, sorry, say Scorpio. Okay, I'm giving the object name like that, R1, car2. Okay, so how many objects you created? You created two objects. Now see, whenever you are creating an object, this is the uh, call which will create an object, and whenever this object is created, okay, this function will be automatically called. Okay, so save it and run it. Can you guess what will be the output? Okay, the same thing we have to pass one. I'm just describing what this self is actually. right now in this code. But first let me run this. See here, one car object is created, one car object is created. So this print message executes twice. Why? Because we have created two objects. So when you create this car1 object, this function is called. That's why you get this one. And when the second car object is created, this function is again called. So you are getting the second line. Okay. So this print, say this method is called automatically when you create an object from a class. Okay, so this is basically the constructor in other OOP language. So I'm just commenting this line and continuing this one. Let me write the code. Self dot name, okay, is equal to fiat. Self dot color is equal to red. Just keeping these two things because I'm going to change this thing later. Okay, now what is this? This is basically we are having the variables. Okay, we are having the variables just like that. See here, d dot name, d dot color. Okay, we were using d dot color, d dot name. Just like that, we are using self dot name and self dot color. Okay, so fiat red. Now coming here, so you have created car1 object. Now if you want to print say car1 dot name, okay, and then print car1 dot color, what will happen? The same thing you want to do for car2. What will happen? Let's run it. See here, you got two things printed, fiat red, fiat red. This is for car1 and this is for car2, right? So what I mean to say that these variables have been attached with this car1 object and car2 object both. We do not have to assign separate values, separate means like this, separate attribute declaring statement after creating the object. See here, after creating the object, we do not have to use car1 dot name is equal to something like that. Okay, so by writing these things, we have attached two variables with each and every object. Okay, now coming to the part what is called self. Self is basically a self-referential pointer-like thing. You remember something called this, okay, from Java, and this pointer from C++. Self is something like that. It is the instance by itself. Okay, so when Python calls this function, okay, so it will pass the object in this name, in this argument. Okay, so here see, when you are creating an object, so what is the object name? Car1. So something is happening behind it. Car1 is passed into it, and that will be done automatically by the system, by the Python. Okay, so whenever you are calling a function, whenever not function, sorry, whenever you are calling a method, that means a function inside a class, that time, and one single reference, one single argument will be passed to the function, to the method. Okay, and that will be the object by itself. So when you are calling this function, that means when you are writing this statement, actually you are calling this function. So when you are calling this function, you are passing the same object inside it, and this object is referred by this name. You can give any name to it. Okay, by convention, Python people give this name as self. Self means the object itself. So self dot name means you are going to have a data for the object that has been passed into it. Okay, So self dot name, this is the syntax how you can add the instance variable inside a class. This is different approach than Java and C++. Okay, okay. So I hope up to this is okay. Now what happened? See here, what was the output? For both the car 1 and car 2 are showing Fiat red. That means both the car are we are getting with name and color same value. This is because we have assigned the values as just like a constant. Okay. So every object will be created from this car class will get these values. So we do not want to do that. Okay. So what do we want to do? We want to pass the value here while we are creating. We can create another method inside the class to take input from user. Okay, that's fine. But when we are creating the object, we should fix the attributes. We should fix some specific attributes over there. So among those attributes, one will be name. So fiat, then you are giving the color, say red, and the price, and maybe the sitting will be your file. Okay. Now when you are creating another car, that time you are specifying that this card is Scorpio, color is black, price is, sitting capacity is 7. Okay. Now see what will happen. So we have assigned, we have passed four values. So we have to make provision for four arguments in sequence. Say name, comma, color, comma, price, comma, sit. Just like that. So now assign this thing. This will be self dot name will be name. Self dot name is the instance variable or the data. Name is this one. This is the local variable. Okay. Color, next self dot price equal to price, self dot sit is equal to sit. Just that. Okay. Now do some printing. Car1 dot price, car1 dot sit. Okay. Now for this we are trying to print the double underscore dict double underscore, this one, so that the properties or the attributes will be printed at once in a dictionary. So let's run the code. See here, for car 1 we are getting Fiat red and the price and the sitting capacity, and for the next car 2 we are getting these values. So what we did here, for the blank class we have to assign the variables separately for each object. Here we have assigned, here we have declared the instance variable inside the class by using the self, by using this, sorry, init method means the constructor, you can say. Okay. Now while creating the object we are passing the value for the attributes. Okay, you got it. Now what happened, think about a case. Say you are going to create card 3 and using card 3, so the name is Baleno. Okay. And the color is say blue, but you do not know the mm, uh, price and sitting, or maybe price you know and you do not know the sitting capacity. Okay. Or mistakenly you forgot to give the sitting capacity. Okay. Now here what will happen? Yes, if you want to print the values for card 3, so what will happen? Let's run it. So you are going to get an error. See, positional argument seat is missing. Positional argument means you have created these parameter names in this function. Okay, that means whenever this function is called, you must pass these 5 values. Okay, so here you are passing 4 values, and don't worry, the first value, that means the reference of this instance, will be inserted silently by the Python. Okay, before going to run the program, this instance will be inserted. Okay, so altogether you are passing the 5 values, and Python is giving one more value, just the first value. Okay, it will be the self instance. Okay, so altogether 5 values will be passed, and that is must, because you have designed the function, you have designed the method in that way. But what happen if you want to execute this code too? That means you want to make a provision that okay, my customer or means user can create a car object just by giving the name only. Okay, just by giving the name only. So you want to fix, you want to make a way so that your user can create a car object just by specifying the name, and rest he may give or he may not give. That time you can use some default arguments. So color, for color by default you are saying, say by default color will be your white, by default price will be your 0, and by default seat will be say 5 seater. You get the idea, you got the idea, and you know what is called default argument. Okay, we have done it in function chapter. Okay, so these are the default argument. Okay, default argument, and this is positional argument, this is also positional argument. Okay, whenever the default value is not present, that means this will call the positional argument. So these are the default arguments. Okay, so if you provide the values for the default argument, so those values will be replaced. But if you do not provide, like we did not provide the seating capacity here for the car Baleno, so it will get the default value. Okay, okay, let's run the code first, then I will explain more. See here, in case of Baleno you are getting seating capacity 5 because the default value is 5. Okay, if you want to create another car 4, tell me one more car name, say what, a famous Alto. Okay, and we are not giving anything. Okay, what will happen? Yes. Okay, see here, for the car Alto, your color you are getting white, price you are getting 0, seat you are getting 5. Okay, but if you do not give Alto, okay, or sorry, if you do not give a single variable or single value, then it will give error. Say just by deleting this, you run, see the name is the positional argument and you do not pass it, so that's why it will give you the error. Okay, so this is the way. Okay, so this is the way how in Python a class is created, and this is the way how you can have the, actually there are two ways how to declare the instance variable for the class in Python. This is another way, and this is the most normalized way to have the instance variable, rather having the variables after getting the object, okay, by using the init method. Okay, now quickly add a method into it. Suppose you want to print these values. Okay, you do not want to print these values in this dictionary format. Rather, we are defining a display method for that. And yeah, rightly assume we have to give the self method, self variable here. I repeatedly saying that you can give any name to this argument, but you must give at least one argument for each and every method inside the class, because Python is going to, when you are calling that method, Python is going to pass that. When you call this display method, Python is going to pass the instance inside that function as an argument, as a parameter. So you print name equal to, say I am giving equal to, here you are getting the output like that, name Scorpio. So we do not want that pattern. So name comma, so it will be self dot name, then say give a comma and then color equal to, so it will be self dot color, then uh, what are the other, price equal to self dot price, and seating, seat equal to self dot sit, and that's all. So this is your function, the this is your method. Okay, so how to call that method? So I am deleting all these printing separately. I am deleting all these statements and just call car dot display, car1 dot display, it will be car2 dot display, car3 dot display, and car4 dot display. So it will be your 4, it will be 3 and 2. Okay, let's see, run it. You have some error in display method, so we have this error. Okay, I hope everything is fine now. So let's run it, and you are getting this output. See, you have 4 cards and you have 4 individual values for that. Okay, so in today's class, I am wrapping up the thing. In today's class, we learned what is object oriented programming in introduction, and our focus is to write object oriented programming using Python language. Okay, we are assuming that you know the basics of object oriented programming. Okay, so in object oriented programming, we have class and object as specified. So we learned how to create class in Python, and how to insert the instance variable, or you can say attributes, for a class and a method inside the class, and how to create objects from the class and call those methods or have those attributes or variables, instance variables. Okay, in our next class we will go much deeper. Okay, we will see some other attributes, we will see something called class variables. Okay, we will try to define some variables here. Okay, what is the difference? We will learn all those things, and later we will go for the rest of the PPT. Okay, so I would like to request you to write some useful classes for practice and give some other methods here, as you know how to write programs on codes. So you can try a little bit of coding using OOP, okay, in Python. Next class, we will learn more about it. Okay. Anybody want to ask anything? Let me stop the recording.